Well, thank you very much, both of you, for those comprehensive presentations. The July 2016 report of the Working Group on Enforced and Involuntary Disappearances, the report of the mission, I'd highly recommend that you look at it. It's the report of the Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances, and it contains over 70 recommendations calling on the Sri Lankan government to take action in areas where, frankly, I would have thought progress would have been made following the resolution of the Human Rights Council last year. And I think from the point of view of parliamentarians in the United Kingdom, I think we've certainly noticed the change in attitude from the Sri Lankan government since the election of a new president and a new government. But there has been lots of heel dragging and not sufficient progress made on implementing those recommendations. And what particularly concerns us is that some of the key aspects of the resolution passed by the Human Rights Council, particularly around international involvement in the investigation and prosecution of historic war crimes, the government have, leading figures in the government have explicitly stated that there won't be international involvement. And given that the Sri Lankan government signed up to that resolution, I think that's been disappointing and demonstrates why pressure from the international community is still very important. And so with the limited time we've got left, I'm happy to take some questions for our panellists or brief points, bearing in mind that there are just 10 minutes left, so we'll try and get as many people as possible. The mere fact that the Sri Lankan government signed up to the resolution and we got the unanimous resolution was positive in the same way that statements by the President and other leading members of the government were also positive. I think that there are two things I think the Sri Lankan government really needs to do before we get to the March meeting of the Human Rights Council. One is make it very clear that they're not trying to unpick the previous resolution, and ongoing statements saying that there won't be international involvement are simply unacceptable. And that really ties into the second point, really, which is about confidence building measures. One of the reasons why international involvement is so important isn't just because the legal framework and the architecture in Sri Lanka isn't fit to prosecute the scale and nature of the crimes that were committed. It's also because for particularly the Tamil community in Sri Lanka, they simply don't have confidence that a domestic process will look objectively at the evidence and will prosecute accordingly. And that's why international pressure continues to be so important, because there are still powerful figures in Sri Lanka, around the government, around the military, around the judiciary, and around civil society, who have a lot to hide and don't want the truth to come to light. But the only way that Sri Lanka will move forward is if there is a peaceful reconciliation. The only way you achieve that is by being honest about the crimes that have been committed in the past. And there were atrocities committed on both sides of the Sri Lankan civil war. But it's not just about winning the war, it's now about winning the peace. And there is a real opportunity, a golden opportunity for Sri Lanka. It's a small island that has enormous prospects going for it. There's a lot going for Sri Lanka, and there's a desire on the part of the UK government and other governments to increase trade and an economic relationship with Sri Lanka. But trade won't trump human rights. And so it is important that between now and the next Human Rights Council meeting, that Sri Lanka demonstrates that it genuinely accepts the resolution that it signed up to, and that it's making real and demonstrable progress. As my colleague Paul Scully says, no one expects these problems to be solved overnight. No one pretends this is going to be an easy process. But I think the Sri Lanka needs to go further in building confidence among the international community that it's serious, and that it's not just paying lip service to the UN Human Rights Council resolution passed last year.